Marilyn's going to tell us about the tea on Sunday in a moment if you're in the practice period. I want to, we're going to be sending out an email with the full information about the Buddha's Enlightenment Retreat, which is a 2-day retreat, which is a really special thing to be able to do. So I really hope that when you see, we've been putting it in the newsletter, but when you receive the information, you really think about whether you can do this. And just come and give yourself to silence and to practice and to goodness and slowing down and to Buddha's awakening, which is our awakening, which is the whole world awakening. And it's not like the world couldn't use a little help, as well as each one of us. So, Marilyn, you want to say
okay.
a little bit about...
How about the folks on Zoom?
They can hear you, right?
Well, yeah, but they need to see us.
Oh, they need to see you. Well, then come on over here in front of the... They can see you, right?
Hi. Okay. We're just gonna. There we go. Okay. So, can I take my mask off? Right, on Sunday, towards the last part of the practice period tea, we're going
The tea starts at 10 and it's going to go till 1:30 this time. Okay?
Maybe not that long. We'll
okay.
See. Okay, so Debbie was kind enough to lend me a sutra copying book of the Heart Sutra. So there are about 50 pages in this book. I've Xeroxed each page. So you will receive as a participant 1 page. This is not it, but because I forgot it all this morning. If you can see, maybe not. There are about 6 big Japanese characters on each page, okay? And then you'll receive a piece of tracing paper. And my wonderful Benji is going to supply us with paper clips, and then I have felt tip pens. And all you have to do is trace the characters. You don't even have to worry about stroke order, which the Japanese are strict about, but we're not. So I just didn't want you to be anxious or think, oh, Japanese characters. It's easy. You just trace whatever is on your sheet. And then when we're done, we're going to take each of these sheets. There must be, gosh, let's see, 6 times 50, 300 characters collectively that will do. We will take the traced sheets and put them all together on a long string. We're going to fold over the edge and line them all up in the spirit of the Heart Sutra. See that? Every single one of you who participates is going to be part of this Heart Sutra, which is what the Heart Sutra is about. Any question?
And if you're long distance and can't come, if you let Marilyn know right away that you want to do this, our noble Shuso, who's the leader of the practice period, who's Marilyn, will put it in the mail to you so that you can come and do it along with everybody else. Shakyo is a traditional Buddhist practice, and sutras, copying the sutras, the Lotus Sutra, the Heart Sutra is one of the primary ones that's been copied across time as a practice, as a concentration practice, a heart practice. So this is a really beautiful thing to be able to do together.
Right, so for those of you who want to participate over Zoom, just send me your name and address. That's all you have to do. I will send you a page copy, a sheet of tracing paper, and a felt tip pen, and a self-addressed stamped envelope to me. All you have to do is do and mail it back to me. And hopefully it'll get to me in Kelseyville by Saturday at the latest. If not, don't worry about it, because I'm going to take this, beautiful mala of kanji characters, and if the sheets arrive late, we'll just add them later, because I plan to bring this mala thing and hang it here for the duration of the practice period. Yes?
She's looking at you.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. So, okay, thank you.
Marilyn, will you give your email address?
Oh, okay, it's marilyneversole@gmail.com.
Uh,
And it's also in the newsletter, there's a link
Yes.
on the description of this activity to me, for my email address.
and maybe, could you put it in chat, Gretchen, for the people on screen?
Say it again.
Okay, Marilyn Eversole, do you want me to spell it?
Hang on.
Okay.
I think it's okay. It's in the newsletter.
Marilyn. At gmail.com.
Yes, ma'am.
What's capitalized?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yes,
Will the characters say a word?
yes,
Will
like,
we know what that word is?
yes, you will know that, because on the reverse side of the Xerox copy sheet, you'll see, they call it the furigana, the English language sounds, and then link the English translation.
Okay.
Okay?
Cool.
What's the date of the tea?
This Sunday.
This Sunday.
The
This
20th.
This Sunday.
The 20th, this
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stop.
It's a body practice. Copying is a body practice. Chanting is a body practice. Meditation is a body practice. Being alive is a body practice. So it was really, well, I was entertaining myself, which I often do, except for when I don't. The first teaching tonight from the Heart Sutra starts out with nothing to attain. And I was realizing how much I wanted to attain something, because I had this thing that I prepared and that I wanted to do. And then I thought, where do you think you're going? Shakya practice is the most beautiful thing in the whole world. And it's really important that we fully enter it and describe it. And it's just, what an amazing thing it is to watch how many ideas we have about the world and what we think we're doing and where we're going. So it's perfect, and we'll get to watch it on Sunday, because of course when you copy, you're going to have all kinds of ideas about how you want the stroke to be and what it looks like and whether you're getting it or not, but then there's a moment where you just give yourself to the pen or the ink and the brush, and those moments are just freedom. That's actually the taste of nirvana, just pure presence. I'm just gonna. So we've been studying in practice period. We've been studying the Heart Sutra, which is primary heart essence sutra of the Buddhist teachings. Three parts. The first part, Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, coursing in Buddha's meditation, says with complete compassion, you're already free, everything is free. And then there's a second part. And the second part then is Avalokiteshvara talking to Shariputra, who's one of the primary Buddhist Buddha's monks, one of the really smart ones who studied all the thises and that's and the dots and the dotting the I's and the traditional Buddhist teachings that then, of course, were so beautiful that everybody got attached to them. And then once you get attached to them, then you think that you know something as opposed to somebody else who doesn't know something. And then it gets just what we human beings do, it gets complicated. And Avalokiteshvara really carefully, and we've been doing this last few weeks, goes through all the traditional teachings and saying, you know, this is a really beautiful teaching, but it's not, if you get attached to it, you're going to miss the vibrancy of what it's pointing at. which is alive. Please know what you know. Okay, this is what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. But always know that whatever you know is conditioned. Always know that. And then the third part of the sutra, which we're moving into, the transition from the know this, know that, and then no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, and then we start getting into the mantra, which is sort of the magical tantric side of Buddhism that just goes beyond. It's like, what is it when you... It's not magic in the sense that it's magic put on top of something. It's just the wondrousness of the world, of alive. So the phrase from the Heart Sutra that I want to talk about tonight, I'm going to give you a couple of different translations. I think the one we're using is, with nothing to attain, a bodhisattva relies on prajna paramita, and thus the mind is without hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Far beyond all inverted views, one realizes nirvana. Okamura Sensei says some of these things a little differently. Again, with nothing to attain, stop thinking you're going someplace. The mind is no hindrance. Without hindrance, no fears exist, far apart from every perverted view. Perverted view means upside down. Basically, we're seeing the world upside down. The way we're seeing it's a little cockamamie. Thich Nhat Hanh says, when we see with the deep insight that a bodhisattva sees with, there are no more obstacles in the mind. And Red Pine says, when a bodhisattva takes refuge in prajna paramita, you live without walls of the mind. Isn't that kind of beautiful? Without walls of the mind. And without walls of the mind, and thus without fears, bodhisattvas see through delusions and are finally free. So nirvana, which is freedom, which is a state of non-fear, which is, this mudra of fearlessness is such a beautiful mudra, and this that goes with it is generosity. Just to me, if you do the mudra of fearlessness, it's like it's upright, it's present, it's not pushing against, it's not collapsing, it's just completely open and receptive, but it's strong. Hindrances, conditioning, our confusion, the me-ness of me means coverings. It's something that prevents us from seeing reality as it is, to see the profound interconnection of everything, to see the flowing, alive, dynamic nature of birth and death and no death, turning of sun and moon and stars. But because we get in our little conditioned hindrances, we mostly miss this world, and mostly we live in fear, right? Because the minute you start getting closed in, then there's somebody could take it away from you. Or something could happen. I mean, we've got very vivid imaginations, and you don't have to have a great imagination to know that awful things can happen. The question is then, how do we live? So here's a few things that I want to bring forward. Here's something from Dogen. 1, often we don't fully embody our lives because we're afraid we're going to make mistakes, right? Probably someplace along the way we got shamed or we've seen somebody else, and anyway, we all, yeah. So Dogen says, after we arouse Bodhi mind, which is the wanting to awaken to the heart and the mind that knows we're interconnected and wants to live that fully so that we can truly be here and be of help to others and ourselves, and wholeheartedly practice. Even though we practice, we cannot hit the mark even once out of 100 times, no matter how hard you're trying. You can't hit the mark even once out of 100 times. But we're so sure, right? Just try harder. I mean, of course you should try harder. But also study the mind. Study the body. Study what's going on. And he says, and yet we can hit the mark while we practice with our teachers and with the scriptures. Hitting the mark at this present moment is enabled by the strength of the 100 attempts which were off the mark. So in other words, you're going to make mistakes. There's no way to get it right because every circumstance is completely different than the last one, and we just keep trying to use the same old thing, right? So you're going to make mistake after mistake and fall down and get up, but that's how you learn. Hitting the mark at this present moment is enabled by the strength of the 100 attempts which were off the mark. 100 practices which were off the mark enable us to become mature. Isn't that beautiful? Is that we mature through our mistakes. We don't mature through being perfect and setting ourselves up against something. We mature through being able to just be here and to fall down and get up over and over and over. We just keep practicing, continuous practice. So there's no one who's deluded and there's no one who's enlightened. It's just the very practice. Dogen says it's practice enlightenment. It's just the intention moment after moment. That's what's so beautiful about Shakyo practice, is you're just completely present in the moment. And the more you do it, of course, your hand and your eye and everything just gets a little more at ease with itself. But you can't get there from here. It's just give yourself to it, give yourself to it, give yourself to it. There is no person that can know, and there's nothing to attain. There is no one to realize or understand the Dharma. You can't grab hold of this Heart Sutra and get it. Or think you got it and then go out and live it like a bodhisattva. You want to know what a bodhisattva knows? A bodhisattva knows that they don't know. Not like, ah! There's a really deep confidence of don't know. Of taking responsibility, of being here in this moment, of the attitude of being upright and present, and of realizing that delusion never disappears. This is not our fault, and it is not our problem other than taking responsibility. Just come back. Knowing that our brain is always producing something. And it's doing the best it can. It's putting together all the information it had from the past and trying to make sense out of this present moment. But as long as we're running around in this little circuit, we're missing the whole world. That's why you sit down in the middle of Zazen. It's like for a moment, you begin to cultivate over and over the sense of how wide open. You can't get it, but you can taste it. You can taste the truth of it. Constant dynamic interpenetration, existence is in the moment, and everything is changing. And all we can do is the deep practice, which is not nothing, Just settle down right here and now. So nirvana, or enlightenment, isn't something special. It's not something that you're going to get over yourself to get there in the future. It's just ordinary, and it's right here. Just accept, be present in the body and the heart and the world as it is, and show up and practice. Just give yourself to this moment. So I thought I'd read you a couple of things. Okamura Sensei says, a bodhisattva's mind has no hindrance. Hindrance here means something that covers our mind, an obstacle that prevents us from seeing reality as it is. A hindrance is something that makes it impossible for our mind to be natural. These impediments are within us. Something covers or constrains our mind so we cannot be free. We are limited and made rigid by our knowledge and ways of thinking. Life is always moving, it's soft, and it's flexible. We should try to see the hindrances in our minds, the obstacles that block our free growth. As bodhisattvas, we are freed from hindrances by seeing emptiness. We see that nothing exists as substance, so there is nothing to prevent our growth. Obstacles are illusions, delusions, and creations of our thought. We fear because of our desires. We have some idea about what we want and some idea that they have to be fulfilled. We're afraid that it's impossible. We think there's only one way to live, even though there are many ways. So our desires, our ideas, our values become hindrances and we are not free. This is the meaning of fears. But if we remove, wake up, become more aware of the walls of our minds, we can grow in many different ways. Thich Nhat Hanh. Two kinds of obstacles. The first is knowledge. Isn't that interesting? The first is knowledge. How different than Western. And the obstacle of afflictions. That which we know is considered an obstacle because we have to learn to let go of what we already know if we are to go further in our search for the truth. If you consider something to be the truth, and if you are attached to that, you are caught. Even when the truth itself comes and knocks on your door, you will not open it. The practice of realizing your knowledge is releasing your knowledge. The practice of releasing your knowledge is very important in Buddhism. Knowledge is the first obstacle of the mind that a meditator should be able to remove. You should not be too sure of anything. Maybe I'll say that again. Because I'm sure none of us are, right? We should not be too sure of anything. The second obstacle of our afflictions, our suffering, the second obstacle is our afflictions, our suffering, states of mind, such as confusion, hatred, anxiety, craving, the desire for vengeance, and so on, are collectively known as afflictions as an obstacle. They are like dust that covers a mirror, preventing it from faithfully reflecting reality. If our mind is burdened by worry, suffering, confusion, anger, or strong views, then it is very hard for us to practice mindfulness, concentration, and insight, and to look deeply into ourselves and reality. Because we have wrong perceptions, we think we know something, we have many afflictions. Study it. Okay. And red pine. There are 3 kinds of walls. Oh, the walls of karma, our conditioning, our belief systems, the walls of passion, which include anger and desire, and the walls of knowledge. There it is again. The belief that something exists when it does not, or the think that we know something. So here are, to dwell without walls, bodhisattvas see things as it is, to quote Suzuki Roshi. We fear what we cannot see. So now I'm going to tell you the fears that Buddhism says assail us. This might, then we'll talk about that. I keep wanting to, I guess I want to say, because there's sort of, you kind of, my friend died about a week and a half ago, the whole death rituals. I went down to the crematorium today, which I've done before, which is a part of a Buddhist ritual that you can do. Crematoriums are where they burn the body. And it's usually it's usually the more industrial part of a cemetery. Maybe it's the part I like the best, although I don't like any of it, because it's so real. It's like whatever you think anything is, suddenly you're there with a friend in a cardboard box. You're spreading flowers on, and you're chanting and circumambulating, who was a human being, who had hopes and fears and desires, and who knew something, and who practiced really. I mean, Layla was just an amazing, just steady bodhisattva practitioner. And she inspired people because of that. Which is why it was so beautiful to be there with her. Because she was completely dead. And she was completely alive. It's like, where does it begin or end? Any of it. And then there's this amazing moment where, because it's so graphic, none of it's hidden when you're in a crematorium. I mean, you're there with the blast furnace, and they push the cardboard box up. And this place, not every place lets you do it. Is they let me push the button to open the door, and they push her body. They push the cardboard box in. And they let me push the button to close the door. And then they let me push the button. I mean, it wasn't me because I was special. I was the only one who asked, and probably was dumb enough to because I get things through being the visceralness of it. When I do things, I get things. Because otherwise, I think I know something. If I put my finger on a button and a door opens, somehow there's some body awareness, and then you push the button and the door's closed and it goes and a little light goes on to show you that the burning is happening, and it takes about 2 hours. And you know that Layla's becoming what she always was, which is one with everything. I think I need strong medicine like that. Maybe not everybody does, but to know and remember, it's not what you think it is, and I have no idea what it is, but I don't want to miss any of it, and I want to live it with a sense of reverence and kindness. And so here are the traditional fears, and then I'm going to break you into small groups, because you might identify with some of these, maybe. Among the many fears that assail us, there is one for every wall in the cities of our mind. There are 5 that are said to concern beginning bodhisattvas. which of course we are all beginning bodhisattvas. If you thought you were an advanced bodhisattva, good! First one is fear of survival. Fear of survival. And then it says that we will not be able to survive if we practice generosity. Do you get that? I get that all the time. If I'm generous, somebody might take something or take advantage of me, or maybe I wouldn't be in control. The fear of criticism. Oh, I'm sure none of us have that one. That we will not be able to endure the criticism of associating, well, this one says of associating with disreputable people while trying to liberate all beings. That's because, but, you know, it's like, mostly we're probably afraid of associating with the disreputable parts of ourselves, much less the people next to us who we think are doing dumb things. You know, I mean, it's just, there's no end to this, right? You can get this pretty easily. The fear, you ready for this one? The fear of death. That we will not be able to give up our lives to help others. We're just going to stay self-protected in our own little bubbles. The fear of a bad existence, which means that we're going to be born during a time when we can't access the Dharma. Like, we're so lucky that we got born during a time where there's practice and we can do this. I mean, I don't care what tradition you do, but just to have some community and deep sense of relationship with something deeper beyond the self. And then the last one is, and I've always loved this, is the fear of speaking before an assembly. See how human Buddhism is? It's like it's not all highfalutin, that we will embarrass ourselves or fail to teach others. Or maybe you just gotten in a conversation with somebody and then you went home and reread this, you redid the script in your head about all the things, the wise things you said and all the dumb things you said and all. I mean, it's just, these are the traditional, but it's not so hard to, okay, so the fear of survival, the fear of criticism, the fear of death, the fear of a bad existence, and the fear of speaking, I would say the fear of being vulnerable in front of other people. So how about, just in the amount of time we have, let's, I'm going to put you guys on screen.